Hey there, Brian of London here, and it's a long time since I've gone live, isn't it? And you can tell from my hair that I have not yet gone out and experienced the joy of a haircut in Tel Aviv, which I believe we're allowed to do now. Lockdown is gently easing. My kids will even go back to school, I am told, or it's planned sometime next week. We almost have a government in Israel. They've always been paid. And in fact, the new government's going to have more ministers than anyone can ever imagine. We're just waiting for the announcement of who is going to be the official Israeli minister of silly walks, because we have just about every other crazy ministry you could imagine. I am Brian of London. I haven't put out a proper podcast for a long time, so this will be one. And I'm directing this really at my friends in the No Agenda listening community. First, for those of you who don't know, No Agenda is the best podcast in the universe. And it's a podcast I've been listening to for a decade. In fact, since back when I was more regularly podcasting myself, run by Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak. And it really analyzes the media. And they've been very, very ahead of the curve of understanding the whole way in which corporatized, centralized social media and so-called platforms like YouTube, which are not platforms, why they will inevitably drive towards being unfree, and they will work against the masses. So they will start to include corporate censorship, censorship by governments, censorship for governments, and just generally be controlling and centralized. And so I, came across this, the biggest example to me of why you can't trust these platforms was when the Facebook community of Tommy Robinson that I had helped with was deleted overnight. So Tommy did a film called Panodrama, which looked into the just completely revolting so-called journalism of the BBC against him, and put out a preemptive strike against their programme. And that documentary that he produced was called Panodrama. That was up for 24 hours on Facebook before his entire Facebook presence was wiped out. That was a Facebook page with 1.2 million followers by Facebook's own numbers. Now, the numbers are a bit nonsense, but it was huge, and it got huge engagement. It was by far and away, in fact, one of the most engaged and busy political Facebook pages in the UK. It beat the Prime Minister, it beat Corbyn, it beat the leader of the opposition at the time, it beat any of the major political parties in terms of the number of followers and the interactions. So when a video went up, the number of views it got, the number of comments, likes, shares, all of that stuff, all of his metrics were bigger than any established political movement in the UK. And it was deleted overnight, and we had no recourse. There was nothing we could do. It was soon after that my friend introduced me to what was then called Steam, but what is today called Hive. And these are the way it presents, and one of the ways to use it is as a social media system. Now, in the background, it uses this blockchain technology, the same kind of thing as Bitcoin is based on, but that's sort of unimportant to you, the user. Why would you want to use this? Well, it's developed greatly since I first started using it, but one of the key things for me now is that they've come up with a system of communities which are very akin to the pages on Facebook. So you have an account, with your account you can create a page and you can invite people onto it and discussions can take place. It's more suited to the kind of slightly longer form blogging, sort of WordPressy style, long form writing and pictures, and video with the site called 3Speak that I use, than it is. It's not really a sort of a Twitter replacement. So from the No Agenda point of view, NA Social fulfills that role very nicely. But if you want to write something a little bit longer, maybe take an article, quote it, give your thoughts, that's what Hive is great for. Now, Does Hive replace your own blog? Well, increasingly, I think it probably can, because, for example, I run my own site, brianoflondon.me, which is a WordPress blog. I have to make sure it's updated. I have to make sure all of the plugins are patched. It's actually quite a lot of work. And at the same time, what I actually do is everything I publish on brianoflondon.me gets copied over to Hive. Hive is there. I know the people behind the scenes, they're called witnesses, the people who keep the computers running, and they're a distributed and diverse bunch, and new ones arrive from time to time and the old ones stop. But overall, this diffuse system all over the world runs itself. There is an economic model as to why that happens, which makes sense. So there are incentives for people to supply the servers that allow all of this network to work. And what that means is that when I create a community called the No Agenda Producers community, for example, I hold a cryptographic key to that community. To delete that community is, I will say, almost or vanishingly small. It's almost impossible to do. There are technical ways in which it could be done if a large number of people all around the world decided simultaneously, but there is no central authority who can say, Brian of London and his No Agenda producer community, we don't want you on our system, you're gone. There is no reasonable way in which that can happen. And I like that. I hold the keys to the No Agenda producer community. I can pass those keys on to anyone I like. I can hold it, and it's within my power. People can join. There are methods to control within a community, but overall, if somebody writes something to the blockchain, to the underlying database, it can't be deleted. This is a curse as well. One has to think carefully about it, but overall, it's the antithesis of something like Facebook or Reddit. Reddit can delete the Donald community tomorrow. Can go. They can just do it. That can't be done with Hive. That's why I'm on Hive. That's why I'm posting my videos onto 3Speak. 3Speak uses Hive as the back end in which to sort the metadata of the videos. It doesn't post the actual videos themselves into the blockchain. They're looking at other ways to decentralize the videos. That's a much harder problem. But for the text, the description, those videos, once it's written, it's there. It's set in stone. It can't be removed. Now, Hive doesn't tolerate plagiarism and truly illegal content. I mean, real illegal in terms of breaking the law in your own jurisdiction. And they've got ways to counteract that. So if you start putting up plagiarized content, your voice will just be driven down and suppressed. It will still be there. If people know how to look for it, they'll find it. But plagiarism is not tolerated. Copying other people's work is not tolerated. And it's self-policing, though. There's no centralized authority. There are authoritative voices and there are large stakeholders who have a reasonable amount of power, but there's no one element that can just wipe your community away. And that's why I'm on Hive. Now, Hive has got various front ends. The one I tend to use the most for text and pictures is peakd.com. And for videos, I use 3speak.online. And I'll put links around all of this. If you're interested in joining me on Hive, drop me a line, any of the ways. I'm on Telegram, Twitter, direct mentions, on NA Social is good too. And I'll set you up with an account. Accounts are not free. There are ways to get accounts, but because this blockchain uses resources, adding a new account is actually resource heavy. I can give away accounts and established users can give away accounts, but they're not free and they shouldn't be free. There's a value for value thing going on here. If you can just open up a new account without giving any value, then you are the property being sold and your data is being sold and mined. And that's the Facebook model, that's the YouTube model. You are the product being sold to the advertisers. Hive is the other way around. Your activity on the site actually generates value. And in fact, you do get paid. If you post, you get a small amount of the Hive cryptocurrency, and it's getting easier, in fact, to turn that into real dollars if you need to. And if you post, you get a reward. You actually get value. The more people who like your content, you get more value back. When you browse the site, even just the action of clicking like on something, depending on how much your account is worth and how much the content is worth that you're looking at, curating this idea of finding and broadcasting out somebody else's work, that gets you a reward as well. There's a very interesting economic model. I don't want to stress the getting paid to blog thing. That was kind of how it was sold maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Don't go there to get rich quick. It's not a get rich quick thing. But if you are producing solid, good content that people are interested to view, you will find that Hive, that the currency of the Hive network, will flow to you. And it's the same with the community. If we build up a no agenda producers community there, it will work completely in parallel, I think, with NA Social. We will find that the community itself will start to generate value. And I'm already posting each show each week through 3Speak onto the NA producers. I'm also posting, with permission of Jennifer, the no agenda animations up there. Any Hive that I sort of manage to make from that, I will gather up, and when I've got enough, I'll send a donation to the show for the no agenda producers community on Hive. So that's my pitch. That's why come join it. It's about freedom. It's about getting away from centralized systems that censor, and it's Web 3.0. We've been living in this Web 2.0 paradigm where you and your information are being sold to advertisers. And if you manage to monetize a video on YouTube, you get back a tiny fraction of the value of your own work. Web 3.0 is much more about you being in control of your information, what you post, where it goes, and being rewarded value for value for whatever you do on the web. Because you should retain ownership and the keys to everything that you do. And lastly, I'll just say, it's Brian of London here again. We're still moving. We've actually had quite a lot of movement with our lawsuit against Google, Facebook, and Twitter, the Tech Goliaths. This is the JPB Liberty lawsuit on behalf of the entire cryptocurrency industry. We've built the value of claims has actually gone past 1 billion Australian dollars, which is very, very good. And we'll have a lot more to say on that soon. And look for the notes when I publish this later. This will go up next on 3speak.online at user at Brian of London. That's me, but you'll find it, and I'll link it obviously from Twitter. So thanks very much for watching. Wishing everybody a great Shabbat Shalom from here in Tel Aviv with the washed out background. Let's try and change the... No, we can't. All right. Nice to see you all. I shall get back to try and do this every week. Bye, Colleen.